Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about framework laptops. So let's dive right into it. Now first we have to understand what is the problem, because there are many laptop manufacturers. It's not a monopoly. So there is Apple, there is HP, there is Lenovo, there is Dell. So what is the exact problem that framework is trying to solve? Well, basically problem is what we call planned obsolescence. Basically, when we started on, people knew very early on, as in like as early as Ford T model car model, people are like, things should not last forever. They try to like have a limited lifespan, so to say, it should work for 10 years. Now that started with 10 year, like aim for 10 year. After that, people knew, dude, it's not gonna last. 10 year became 5 years. Now we are at a point where you would be lucky if you buy a laptop today that is manufactured recently, that it would, especially thin and light kind of jazz, it will last more than 2 or 3 years. So reality is it's getting bad, and it's taking a toll on of all of us. Basically, at this point in time, Apple laptops are so bad that they are a running meme in freaking basically Oscar ceremonies, like laptop keyboard where freaking dust can block the keyboard and you have to throw the whole thing away. Now you're like, why? Well, the laptop keyboard is riveted, so you have to change the whole assembly, and that assembly would be 1/3 of the cost of the laptop. If you have a broken laptop and you go to someone, is like, yeah, 1/3 of the cost, or even half of the money have to be spent again, you're not going to repair it, you're just going to toss it away. So it's creating a what we call very serious e-waste problem. Now why do we have e-waste problem? Why can't we just recycle it? Well, here's the deal. If anything is cheap, let's say you can buy a laptop for 50,000 rupees or $200-300, that fundamentally means that it's not worth recycling, simply because a company made a new product for that kind of price. So it's not worth recycling, and like you need very complicated machines, lot of labor, all those costs add up to a point where no company recycles it. What they do, basically all the American company, European country, they will like, okay, we will sell it for recyclers. What will recycler will do? They will collect the material and then send it to China or some places in Africa just to dump it. It's not being recycled. So reality is we are creating a very bad e-waste problem. And then complex things like laptop, it's very complex. It's a full computer. It has many parts. It's not just like tada laptop. It has many things. It has display, it has webcam, it has mic, it has speaker, it has battery, it has basically RAM, it has processor, it has cooling system. It is complex system. But right now we are entering a scenario where it's like, if you have one tiny failure, for example, basically keyboard malfunctioning, you have to throw the whole damn thing away, because again, it's flat out non-repairable, or it just costs so much that you're like, dude, I'm not gonna spend, like, let's say you have a laptop and somebody says like, yeah, let's say you bought the laptop for $1,200 and you have to spend, let's say, around $800 to repair it. You're not going to repair it. It's just not worth it. So one simple failure, it could be very simple things, like especially primary cause of failure for most laptops is keyboard. You're like, just toss it away or use a USB keyboard. So reality is battery, display, these sort of things are very common failures, and you have to throw the whole damn thing away. Even though the processor could be working, the heatsink could be working, the RAM could be working, the hard drive could be working, everything could be working, you just have to throw it away. So reality is it's very bad for our wallet. You may be like, I'm gonna save a lot of money, I'm gonna buy a really good laptop, everything is awesome, and then after 2 years, like, dude, it's not working. Like, you may not even know the primary reason might be simply thermal throttling, and you're like, okay, I'll clean it. Try to open a laptop, modern laptops, not old Lenovo ones, modern laptops. Try that. Try to open it up and all that jazz. It's so convoluted. Good luck with that. So reality is really bad for our pockets. It's like our pockets are not healthy because of that. And things at this point in time ending up with shorter and shorter and even shorter lifespan. For example, Apple has figured out a very interesting way. They have dots, basically on their motherboard they have dots. These dots activate on humidity. Now here's the, where can you find humidity? Places that are near some fancy places like Kolkata, sea places, or you are in a position where it's just humid. The laptop, those green indicators, basically they will turn red, and the moment you could have a minor failure, you could have like freaking battery failure where it's like, dude, just replace the CMOS battery, it will work fine. They're like, yeah, we have to throw this whole thing away simply because that red sign turned into. So companies are actively working to mess you up. So this is a really big problem for you and me, for the environment, for every Tom, Dick and Harry involved. Other than the manufacturers, they are printing money. Other than that, so what can we do to solve it? Well, we have to think differently. The problem is not the company, problem is us. Like, we used to have this, that's the sad part. We used to have it. We used to have laptops. Like right now you can type Lenovo laptops like that made in early 2000s or even 1990s, people are still using it. But that's how it was built. It was built like a truck, and it had like, oh hey, keyboard could fail, it has springs, it has things, it could fail, replace it. That's the reality of it. Like, we had amazing things, we forgot that we used to. And the primary reason given is that, cheap and best. many companies, everything in our world started to degrade because of this. Like, and everybody's like, we need cheap and best, so we can't make quality products. But reality is, cheap and best simply translates cheap and waste. You're not getting a product that's going to be used for long. All you're getting is just like continuous renewal. So it's like, buy quality, buy once, and like buy cheap, keep buying again and again. That's the same thing we are doing. So we have to let that go. It's like some companies like, hey, we're giving you a product that is longer lasting but is a bit more expensive. Buy that one, because if you buy a cheap one, you will regret it. Your wallet is gonna regret it. So we have to understand that cheap and best is not anything good. It's just cheap and waste. And then recycling is a lie, simply because it's not worth recycling. Think of it this way: like, somebody can sell you a laptop complete. Think of this: the R&D that went into it, the manufacturing tooling that went into it, the materials collection cost, all that thing can be done. And let's say a laptop can be sold to you, let's say, for $500 or $600. That fundamentally means the product cost is so low, because a company is not going to sell it if they are not making money out of it. So is it worth like taking that laptop, taking it apart, extracting everything out of it, and that machinery that you need to, either to shred the PCB, then collect everything? Those are so expensive. It's just not gonna happen. So the only way can save the environment is basically reduce. What does that mean? That simply means your demand should go down. Basically, demand should not be like a new laptop every 2 years. Mobile phone I can understand, because mobile phone is like only 200 grams of material. A laptop is around 1 kilogram at bare minimum. Maximum it can easily go, if you're talking about big laptops, it can easily go to 3 to 5 kilograms of material. So reduce, like whatever you are buying, it should last longer. Like a desktop, it should last longer. Then you come to reuse aspect. Like once it's done, try to figure out some use case of it. For example, many people right now, they need what we call network attached storage. If you can use the CPU, RAM and all that jazz of a laptop, you can still make a kick-ass NAS unit. Rather than buying a new NAS unit, creating another demand for that, you can just reuse it. And then once it's finally done, once you cannot do anything tangible or profitable out of it or useful out of it, then you recycle it. That should be the last step. It should not be like tada, because every time you skip the reuse step, you are buying more products and creating a problem that is much worse. So this must be followed. You must reduce how many things you buy, then you must reuse it as far as you can, and then you try to recycle it. And good luck with that. That does not exist in real world. So that's the reality of it. And another aspect is, laptop are such equipment that there is enough data at this point in time that you can find what is the primary reason of laptop thrown away. Most of the time it's just cracked display. You could have a worst days, like a laptop is awesome, everything, you forgot to, there was a coin on the keyboard and you flipped it closed, bam, broken display. Things of this nature happens often. Like people are going into junkyards, finding laptops, all they are doing is just connecting external displays. Like, wait a minute, this laptop is fully functional, why it was thrown away? Cracked display. So that's the reality of it. One point of failure should not force you to throw the whole thing away. That should not happen. That's just not acceptable. Keyboard, it's something that's gonna make love to water, and at some point it's gonna go broke because of it. So you have to replace it, not throw the whole goddamn thing away. So fundamentally, we have to think in such a way that it's like, hey, this is a thing that is as so many other things. What will happen if this broke? I have to throw it away? Don't buy it. So that's the reality. One point failure should not exist in a complex equipment. It's like, oh, your car, let's say your air intake jammed up, no, throw away the whole car. It's like, what the hell? That's the thing. Like, think of this way. Let's say you are using a car a lot and you're a very heavy driver, you're like, pressing brake like there is no tomorrow. Your brake pads will wear out, and the company is like, yeah, throw the car away. You're like, what the hell? So that's the whole reality. We have to think differently. We used to have this, now we have to regain it. So how does framework help here? Now, framework was built by ex-engineers from big tech companies, aka Apple, HP, and all that jazz. So basically, these engineers, they know their stuff. They have experience with that. And their reality USP, so to say, was very simple: long-lasting tech. Basically, they are building the equipment so it can last. It's not designed in such a way that's like, oops, throw it away. Oops, throw it away. They are not planning for that. They are like, let's fix it. Let's try to make sure, let's design in such a way that it lasts. It has the probability of lasting. Because again, these are a thing. You can buy a thing that can break in 1 month. Same company, same manufacturer, same lot also. You can buy another product that lasts for 5-6 years. There is always a variability in that. But designing in such a way that it should last longer, that's their main aim. And they're trying to build laptops that are literally built like old, repairable, long-lasting tanks. That's the whole point of it. Every aspect of this is engineered in such a way that you do not need to throw it away. spend some time into it, try to figure it out, try to fix it. For example, I'll give you one simple example. Modular architecture rather than glue. Now why that's a big deal? Think of this way. Right now, instead of using lithium ion batteries, that cylindrical cell that we used to use in, like, you know, old laptops, we use lithium polymer. It's a bit better, but here's the problem with that. If you make a lithium polymer battery that is so thin, and if you're opening it up, like you're trying to extract it from the laptop chassis, and if it was glued, it's a dangerous operation. Fundamentally, it can set your world on fire, and I'm not joking, simply because those thin cells have what we call very thin membranes. Those membranes must be intact. If electrolytes from positive and negative side touches, without that separator in between, it's gonna catch on fire fundamentally. And that's why, like, they put glue on that, so even if you try to replace it, it's gonna fold, and most of the time it's a hazard. So even a company that knows how to do it, they will have to use heat gun. Again, heat on battery, not a good thing. So they make it so difficult that, yeah, just throw it away. Because even if you try to extract it 9 times, like say 9 times out of 10, you are like, awesome, GG. One time you folded it wrong, like, again, it's like glues are so strong, it's like fire, and that would cost you so much damage. You're like, yeah, it's not worth repairing it. So that's the whole point. Rather than having glues, they are trying to use modular designs, trying to use screws. And screws is another aspect of it. It's these laptop manufacturers like, thin and light. Here's the deal. We have screws that are thin and light. Have you ever seen a Rolex that is using rivets? No, they're using screws. And if you can make screws that are that tiny, stop bitching about like freaking keyboard screws, which can be made very light. And the only reason they are using rivets is basically, it reduces their machining cost a little bit, not too much. Do not expect, oh, like, you know, Apple riveting money, they are saving money, like, you know, by $100. No, they're barely saving, let's say, $3 per machine. So just use the screw. Just eat that cost. It's not going to be too painful. Just eat that cost. Use screws. And this company is going back to old days. Like, if you see people refurbishing their very old HP desktops, HP used to have screw sets. Basically, there were screws, different types of screws. Just you open the case, there are like 5-6 you know, spare screws there. You're like, why the heck it was there? Well, think of this way. You bought the system, you had only one hard drive. You thought, hey, I will put another hard drive, but you need screws to attach it. HP was like, you have the spare on the case itself. They are doing the same thing. They have the spare screws. I'm like, awesome. Like, that's why that's so painful. It's like, we used to have this, now we have the garbage. Like my Dell desktop that I bought in 2009 started to show this kind of sign. Like, it has power supply that can support 3 SATA devices. Awesome. It has a motherboard South Bridge that can support 4 SATA. Awesome. The motherboard physically does not have 2 SATA ports, even though it's written SATA 0, SATA 1, SATA 2, SATA 3. And it's like SATA 1 and SATA 3 is missing. They physically removed the physical connector, or they did not install it. It's like, why? Their explanation would be like, hey, if Inspiron 535S is that good that you can put 2 hard drives, they will not buy Inspiron 56X. So you get that point. It's painful for all of us. So the approach here is like, design everything in modules. Do not design in such a way that you have to glue it, or it has to have some weird kind of, like, think of this. This is a very high-end system. It's just a rectangle thing. And you may be like, why the heck you want that? Think of this way. You had a water spillage and it destroyed this motherboard area. Here's the deal. What is the chance that motherboard is destroyed but also RAM? Very low chance. You can remove the RAM. What if the memory is intact? You can remove it, try to extract data out of it, which is much more important than the laptop. You can do that. Like, Apple knew that soldering the data was bad, so their older laptops had like physical ports. Even though they started to solder the system, they had physical port to recover the data. Then they are like, oh dude, people are actually doing it. They are actually recovering the data. Then they are like, you know, remove that physical port. Watch Louis Rossmann, like, if you really want to see how bad the system has gotten. So that's what Framework is trying to address. It's like, let's not try to mess up the things. Let's try to build it amazingly well. Let's try to have what we call written. Everything is using screws that have color codes, does not have security talks into it. That's awesome. That's amazing aspect of them. It's like they're trying to do something different. Then we come to the logical aspect of it. Like, that's their aim, what they are trying to do, how they are achieving it. Well, they are achieving it one simple step, that IO is configuration based on your needs. So basically, you have 4 slots that you can plug external IO into, basically what input and output you're gonna need. So right now they are also planning to build more devices, but right now you have few options. For example, one of them will be pre-compromised simply because you need USB-C to charge the system. So one USB-C, but again, you can put it on the right side or left side depending on your use case, or you can use one on either side. If you're like, hey, I'm using one USB-C device, but now you're like, I don't need anything other than that. Awesome. You can just use SATA there. You're like, okay, SATA, I'm saying basically you can utilize SSD there. You can just have 1 TB SSD, plonk, done. Now you have 2 terabytes of SSD, one on left, one on right. Or you could be like, hey, use a multi-monitor display. Use basically, if you buy a monitor, most of the monitor use in display port, not HDMI. So you're like, okay, buy a display port adapter, not HDMI. You don't need HDMI, don't buy HDMI. So that's the whole thing. It's your configuration. So you get 3 options, and you can arrange them however you see fit. Then each part is designed as an individual module. So that's why I specified, even in a water damage, even if in a broken case scenario, you should be able to repair this. Basically, if it has 10 parts, more 5-6 part has to fail for you to just throw this device away. Basically, it will try to come back from dead as quickly as possible. And you can replace the battery, display, webcam, hinges. On their own website, they have like a long list. Basically, almost everything can be done, which we used to have this. Like, I can guarantee you, at least 1 or 2 of you will know someone who has a laptop with a broken hinge, or you may be the one that has a laptop with broken hinge. So, and another aspect is many parts are easily upgradable. Just upgrade it. Like you bought in, let's say, 16 GB RAM module, just upgrade it. It's not soldered. So that's one thing. And things can be used in many other ways. For example, laptop, once it's done, how about reusing it? Maybe you want to do something else with it. Other system, it has such a complicated screw system. You need freaking super complicated iFixit kit just to open it, because the Phillips head is not Phillips head. It's like Penta head. It's like, what the hell? So that's the logic behind this. They are giving you a configuration. Every aspect of this puppy is actually designed in such a way that you can replace it, repair it, or treat it as an individual inter. Or left hinge broke, don't throw the laptop, just replace the left hinge. Now you'll be like, can't I do that with Apple? No, Apple will flat out change the whole module. Now you could do that, but the price will be like 1/3 of the cost. People generally don't repair a device if the cost reaches that point. It has to be below 25%. And in this scenario, it's very less than that. So what we can expect in the future? Well, they're trying to reduce the first step by applying replacement. You can replace as many things as you want, and then upgrades. So you can upgrade the RAM, you can upgrade the SSD, and this can allow you to have much more life as long as you want. Heck, you can even have a scenario where it's like, dude, I have amazing RAM. I put 64 GB RAM, I put 4 terabyte SSD, everything is awesome, but I do not like the processor. Let's say back then I had the money limitations, so I bought i5. Here's the upgrade the freaking motherboard. Now you have much higher quality than, and you do not have to buy a whole desktop just so you can have more basically processing power. And then this is basically need of new laptops. They are trying to push that away. Basically, you have this laptop, it should not be obsolete very quickly. It should be like trying to last as long as possible. And most people do not throw their laptops away simply because it has less power. They generally throw it away either there is a battery fault or there is some other kind of fault. So they know this. Like, the laptop is such a big category that we have research data on that, and people know for a fact that you do not buy a new laptop because you need more performance. You buy a new laptop because old one broke. So fundamentally, doing this is really amazing. Then we come to reuse aspect, which I like. You can use the main board. Basically, the main board is a motherboard, complete motherboard. How about using the damn thing? So like, this is the example they are showing, and they provide the CAD model. The screws are simple, open, and they have the CAD model, so you can 3D print your case. And this person just made a, have you seen Raspberry Pi 400? It's exactly like you have an i9 system on a keyboard itself. You can use whatever you want to. You can use this for NAS, network attached storage, which many people want. You can use it as a backup computer. I can guarantee you, more than enough time you will have a scenario where your primary computer is compromised either by power requirements or malware, virus, things of that nature. You're like, hey, backup computer, awesome. So, or you can use this as a smart TV display or whatever the heck you want to do it with it. So NAS, smart TV, backup PC, all these things, if you are in a serious industry, you may directly buy a new component for that. So it's also helping in reuse department. So reuse this system. And this is one of those companies that I want them to succeed, because this is amazing. I like the aspect, like, this is a laptop system. Why can't you have a full computer? Like, people who want what you call minimalist system, just have this. Your keyboard is the everything. It's like you have a desktop, you have like a multi-monitor setup, and like, where is the CPU? No, it's in the keyboard. Amazing. It's like awesome. So I want them to succeed. This is what they are trying to achieve. It's commendable because it's helpful for your wallet, it's helpful for environment. What more could I ask? So fundamentally, I want them to succeed. So this was my presentation on basically framework laptop. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.